The bitchy cousin. It all started when I married my husband Daniel. We had been together for 3 years before tying the knot, and I always thought I had a good relationship with his family. His parents were welcoming. His siblings were kind. And even his distant relatives seemed to accept me with open arms. But there was one person who never quite warmed up to me. His cousin Vanessa. From the moment I met her, I sensed a strange tension. At first I brushed it off, assuming it was just her personality. Maybe she was shy. Or perhaps she took time to warm up to new people. But as time went on, it became clear that Vanessa wasn't just indifferent, she outright disliked me. It wasn't obvious at first. There were no screaming matches or dramatic confrontations. Instead, it was the subtle things. The way she would roll her eyes when I spoke, the way she would exclude me from conversations at family gatherings, and how she would always find a way to contradict or dismiss anything I said. At family events, she would conveniently forget to invite me when making plans, even when everyone else, including Daniel, was included. When I joined in on a conversation, she would either talk over me or act as if I wasn't even there. If I brought a dish to a family dinner, she'd go out of her way to make a comment about how she preferred the way someone else made it. At first, I thought I was imagining things. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe Vanessa treated everyone this way. But Daniel noticed it too. "She's always been a little particular," he said, trying to downplay it. "But I don't think it's anything personal." It felt personal. The real breaking point came at our wedding. Vanessa showed up in a floor-length white dress. Not cream, not beige white. I tried to laugh it off, telling myself that maybe she didn't know the unspoken rule about not wearing white to someone else's wedding. But when I saw the smirk on her face when she noticed my reaction, I knew it wasn't a mistake. Still, I bit my tongue. I didn't want to cause a scene. This was my wedding day, and I refused to let her ruin it. But it didn't stop there. After the wedding, the coldness turned to outright hostility. She started making passive-aggressive comments whenever I was around. "Oh, Daniel, you used to have such good taste in women," she'd say with a forced laugh, as if it were just a joke. She started bringing up his exes in conversations, talking about how perfect they were for him. She would make backhanded compliments about my appearance, my career, and even my cooking. One day, I decided I had had enough. I pulled Daniel aside and told him that I needed to know what was going on. Did I do something to her? Did I offend her in some way? Daniel sighed, looking uncomfortable. Honestly, I have no idea. She's always been a little protective of me. But this is beyond that. Protective? The word lingered in my mind. Was it possible that Vanessa had some kind of attachment to Daniel that went beyond cousinly affection? I started digging a little deeper, asking some of Daniel's family members if they had noticed Vanessa's behavior. Some of them brushed it off, saying that she had always been opinionated. Others hinted that she might have had a crush on Daniel when they were younger. The more I thought about it, the more things started to make sense. Vanessa had always been a little too invested in Daniel's relationships. She was quick to befriend his ex-girlfriends. Even after they broke up, she made offhanded remarks about how no one would ever be good enough for him. It was unsettling. One evening, after another exhausting family gathering where Vanessa had gone out of her way to make me feel unwelcome, I decided to confront her. I waited until we were alone in the kitchen, away from the rest of the family. "Vanessa," I said calmly, "I need to ask you something. Have I done something to offend you?" She barely glanced at me, stirring her drink with a smug smile. "Why would you think that?" "Because you treat me like I don't belong. And I want to know why." She let out a short, bitter laugh. "Oh, please, don't act like the victim here." "I'm not acting like anything," I said, my voice steady. "I just want to understand." She set her glass down and crossed her arms. "You want to know why I don't like you? Fine. It's because you don't deserve him." I felt my stomach drop. "What? You heard me," she said, her voice cold. "Daniel is special. He's smart, kind, and successful. And you're just ordinary." I stared at her, stunned. You don't even know me. I know enough, she said dismissively. You waltzed into this family and took him away. You changed him. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. I didn't take him away from anyone. He's his own person. He chose me. She scoffed. And I'll never understand why. I realized in that moment that there was nothing I could say to change her mind. Her hatred wasn't about me, it was about her own issues. Whether it was jealousy, misplaced loyalty, or something else entirely, I would never get through to her. From that day forward, I decided to stop caring about Vanessa's opinion. She could hate me all she wanted, but I wasn't going to let her ruin my happiness. Daniel and I built a life together, and no amount of pettiness or resentment from her would change that. Years later, she's still the same. Still cold, still bitter, but I don't let it bother me anymore. Because at the end of the day, I know one thing for certain. Her hatred says more about her than it does about me.